Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Redefined Talks. I'm so happy that you're here and so excited to start and kick off this new series of episodes that we're going to be launching. We're going to talk about real stuff that especially creatives, high achievers, female CEOs can relate to. Because I'm a female CEO and I relate to a lot of struggles that entrepreneurs just have or had. And I just want to give room for things that are kind of like unspoken and yeah, just talk about things, but the unconventional way, because this is Redefined Talks where we're having talks that are kind of redefined. So, not your average, you know, go to talk about certain topics. So, today we're going to talk about transitions in life, navigating life transitions. I don't know if you're currently in a life transition or if you just came out of a life transition and you're like, "Ugh, done with that, thank God." We all experience a time period in our life, many of us multiple times in life, where we just feel like, okay, we're transitioning into a new chapter. It can be, for example, high school to college, could be college to the work field, like your 9 to 5, could be your 9 to 5 to being self-employed, could be from being self-employed to being an entrepreneur. Like there are always like transitions, right, in life. A fresh married couple that is now going to turn into a family because you're now receiving a child. So life transitions are all over. Like we all experience transitions. And oftentimes we do not like transitions, or rather we don't like change, although change can be good at times. Why? Because change is uncomfortable, change is new, change is unfamiliar, and these are all things that our nature, how we're built to always be safe and know if danger is approaching us based on our survival instincts, just our nervous system does not really like it nor really take it. So oftentimes when you feel like you're blocking yourself from transitioning to something new or to just accepting change, is because your nervous system might still be in the way, or your mind might still be in the way, or your environment might block you. So there are multiple factors and reasons why transitions can become hard, but also can take way longer than they actually should take. I like to refer to the people of Israel. So in the Bible, there's a group of people, or a nation rather, the Israelites, and God called them out of Egypt. Like the Israelites were caught in slavery. And it was a hard time. They were really suffering. They were like, shouting to God, like, God, please save us, rescue us. We cannot do this. Why are we experiencing this? You're a faithful God. You're a big God. So why are we actually experiencing this kind of slavery? Like, get us out. And after a while, God heard their cries and he was like, okay, let me actually change and help them out. So he just worked wonders and miracles, just big wonders, of sending plagues to Pharaoh, of, just doing big signs that only God can do to rescue his people out of the grip of Pharaoh so that the Israelites can leave Egypt and go into the promised land. So the thing with transitions is that you are currently in point A and your destination is in point B or at point B. And the bridge between A and B is your transition. So you're right now perhaps in point A, or you can be on the bridge, on transition, on the road, or you can already be at the destination. If so, congratulations again. So back to the nation of Israel. God delivered them and sent them out of Egypt. So they were on a long journey, which actually shouldn't take too long, like take them like a few days. I guess it was like 12 or 14 days. I don't really have it in mind. I had it in mind, but I forgot the days. So actually just a few days to get out of Egypt to the promised land, Canaan. How long did the Israelites actually take to get out of Egypt? Like it took a day, but the transition from Egypt to the promised land, how long did it take? It took them 40 years. And there are so many reasons why, from them not believing anymore, that they are just, like stranded in the desert and, actually like even thinking about going back to slavery because that's what they're used to, even though they're not happy. And that also speaks volumes because people like to go back to things that did not treat them well or serve them well or was just below their worth. But because they're so used to it, so used to the comfort, although it is also like really like breaking them and keeping them like small, they like to go back because they don't know if they like the new thing. They don't know if they like the shiny thing because they're not used to shiny objects. They're not used to a shiny, you know, new home because they came from a house full of trash and dirt and poverty, and now they move into the promise that God gave them, that you can now enter this beautiful clean home because I provided this for you, because you are worthy of it. And here you are rejecting it because you're just not used to this new thing. So it took them 40 years to really like transition into the promised land. And when I think about Israel, honestly, oftentimes when I'm in transition, I kind of see myself as Israel because at some point in our lives, we kind of all are Israel, because sometimes we do not take, it should not take too long for us to get to the destination, but because of certain circumstances, distractions, setbacks, it takes way longer than it should take. So let's talk about it. Right now, my current life transition, where I'm currently at. So I am in Miami. I'm actually in Miami, Florida, and I'm a living example of living a transition or a life transition. And I've experienced multiple transitions in my life. I've also experienced multiple wilderness seasons in my life, aka just dry seasons where things didn't happen, where I really just desperately had to seek God because I knew, like, oh my gosh, I cannot do this by my own. I don't know how. I like whatever I try, whatever I want to do, it doesn't work, or it works, but then it stops working. And, just like always failing and being so fed up and wondering, like, what am I doing wrong? Why are other people making it, but I'm still behind? Like, all these things. And these seasons, especially the wilderness season, really is a season of humility. Like, you really get humbled, and your heart posture aligns to the posture you should have when it comes to, seeking God, to align your heart with His will, with His direction. And I know it sounds like, okay, so you don't have a will, like you have to do what God wants, like why should I willingly do this? But the thing is, God knows better what you want and what you need than you do. And oftentimes, I think I know better what I want. And then God is like, okay, go ahead. And then I come back and I'm like, oh, okay, you were right. Because God is not a God who's going to stand in the way and be like, nope, you're not going to do that. Like, He's going to let you experience it. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. So, as I said, like, I'm currently living this life transition. Um, I have again transitioned from, living in Germany, not feeling happy there, not seeing opportunities of growth and expansion, not being like surrounded by like-minded people, the people that I wanted and needed around me. So I was really just not happy. And I again sensed, okay, now it's time for me to go to a new place, but this time for real. So last year I was in Montreal, And that was like the kickstart of me actually building a new life. But I came back. And I thought at that time I was doing the right thing. Like, I'm not gonna stay here forever. Like, let me pack my bags and go back home. And as soon as I came back home, within the first week already, I hit rock bottom. I did not feel happy. I thought to myself, shit, I shouldn't have come back. It was also the same time, like when I came back, I kind of like thought, okay, I'm coming back to save a relationship that I had at that time. I came back because of a client, and the whole situation with my client was also another headache because we kind of didn't get along, although we used to get along. And of course, the relationship didn't work out because it shouldn't. Like all of these things. And then I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh. So I actually just came back to save my relationship and to be there for my client. And both of them kind of like, it just, it led me to actually like hit rock bottom. And another, like a list of other things happened at the same time too. So I was like, whoa, okay, why? And that led me to a season of isolation. I I took a social media like break for the first time. Detox from everything. I was in the wilderness season, so I spent a lot of time with God. I sought God. I was in the Word. I was praying. I was fasting. I was doing all of these spiritual things to get out, to really get out of the wilderness. And then, by the second half of 2024, things shifted for better. So there again, I was like, happy. And the whole idea of starting this wellness business came to place because God put it on my heart, and he said, okay, like start a consulting. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought I'm going to do that later. Like all of those things. I was really scared, but I kind of just did it. I launched my website. I did a few things, right? And started planting seeds. The brand that I co-founded with a friend, where we're going to host like events, workshops, and retreats together. And things were happening. So by November, we started hosting these workshops at Neo House in Hamburg, which was such a nice cooperation. Neo is a $1 billion Chinese e-car brand, and they have a co-working space at the top. This is where we used to host our events. And things were happening. I was in another relationship, and I don't know, things were just getting better. And I thought, oh my gosh, finally I escaped the wilderness season. Then 2025 happened, and within the first month my next breakup happened. And then I worked a few days. Like I was working part time just to secure and juggle everything, because I actually transitioned, right? I transitioned from getting government support because I had to close my social media agency down, which was also in 2024. So it was a wild ride, believe me. Believe me. And then, yeah, I had government support for like 2, 3 months because I just had to get assistance somewhere. And I just felt so horrible about it. I was like, oh my gosh, me getting government support, like, this is so below my worth. And I was just like trying to get out of it. And then this opportunity came in of me working part time in a sales company. So I did that. I did the market research for them, and it did not fulfill me because it was really monotone. And I tried, but it was really just not the environment. So I was there for like 3 months, and then in the beginning of February I was home by myself and thinking like, what happened again? Like, honestly, like, I'm trying so much, I'm doing so many things, I'm trying to make it work, but it just does not work. And then I again entered the next season of seeking God and asking Him and surrendering. That is the most significant thing, because what I did was, for the first time ever, surrender everything. I was like, you know what? I don't know shit, because everything that I used to think is my portion should work, that my way is the right way, didn't work out. So, you know what, God? You know better. I'm listening. So it was a process, and God, thank God, like my communication with God is really good. So when I ask Him, I receive answers quite fast. And then I immediately like also sensed how He wanted me to go someplace, and I'm like, oh boy. So this is getting real. When I ask you what to do, you're like just waiting for it because you're like, finally, girl, okay, now let's actually get to work. And fast forward, I was on another fast. I did a Daniel's fast. Um, which brought me a lot of clarity, which brought me a lot of like, I trained the muscle of surrender because surrendering, in my opinion, is something that is not really natural to us because we have our own will, we have our own mind, we have our own desire. So we always want it our way. And to surrender to God means to let go of your ways, of you thinking that you know better, and to trust in a invisible force, aka God, because you know that He created everything and He created you, so He knows better. And that is another level of faith and strength and discipline that is happening on the inside. So it's not visible on the outside, it's actually visible in the inside, it's visible in your heart. And that's why, like, for example, change, like real, holistic, and long term change happens from the inside out. And this is also my approach. When I go about my events, when I go about my consulting, I go from the inside out because I know that it's going to be the most sustainable. If you really want to achieve long term change, you got to change the inside first. And I mean the heart, the mind, the soul. And if you neglect it, or rather don't even pay attention, but you try to, for example, like work on the outside, getting the skills, getting the body, getting the fashion, but the inside is not aligned, then you will lose it. It's like someone winning the lotto, getting millions of euros, dollars, whatever, and losing it within a short time period. Why? It's because the inside was not ready to take the millions and millions of dollars that person won through lotto, or, business just booming and you were not ready. So there's a lot of inner work people skip. And it's so unfortunate that just very little or very few people have this awareness and help people out of it, or like transition from, their lack of knowledge, because most of the times, honestly, it's a lack of knowledge. Although you can be really intelligent and know your field, you could be a pro in your business, you can be a pro in your pursuits, but still you have a lack of knowledge because you're not omniscient, you're not God, you're not all knowing. And therefore, you have to humble yourself, and just admit that you don't know everything. And honestly, if you admit it to yourself, if you're really like, if you're like, you know what? I surrender. You just lay it off, you strip it off, you strip all the pride away, you strip all the ignorance away, you strip all the, you being self reliant away, and you're just sitting there and being like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to surrender. Believe me. You know what feeling will come up? Relief. Because you're like, finally. Because you're pretending. So many people here are pretending to know that they know where they're going, no matter how successful you look on the outside. And I relate to people looking successful, like either their life or, how they look themselves, etc., their businesses, but feel empty on the inside, because that was me too. I looked successful on the outside, but I was unfulfilled, not purposeful, and not happy, not aligned in the inside. And that's why things crumbled after a while. And so many people suffer under this. So what does this mean? It means that you have to just realize that there will come a season for you to sit still. And I know people do not like sitting still. Mm-mm-mm. I have to say, like, I got used to it and I enjoy it. it did not come natural, of course not, because, also as a creative, my mind is like all over the place. I have billions of ideas and visions, and I'm just like, oh, I want to go, I want to, be the go-getter and get things done, hustle and whatnot. But this new nature of mine, the new version of mine, just understands that there is power in silence, there is power in stillness, there is power in surrender, there is power in alignment and positioning. Because if you're aligned, if you're positioned, what happens? Things will fall into place. You do not have to do the heavy lifting anymore. Things will fall into place. And this is what is happening here. Like, I'm going to share more and more, the longer I'm going to get into this series, because I cannot talk about everything in this episode because it will just be too long and it's not fully about me here. But just, I'm here for 2 weeks. Like, this is the 15th day that I'm here. And the things that were just happening here went so smooth. The event that I'll be hosting here came by so smooth. It required me to step out of my comfort zone, because I was like, let me actually get into this story, how it happened. I actually wanted to go to a jazz night, so I went. I got ready. It was like my second or third day arriving in Miami, and I thought, okay, let me just Uber there. It's not too far, and then let me just enjoy myself, maybe get to know people. And I was thinking, I was envisioning a big group of people just at a jazz night, really chill, really cozy. And I arrived and it was like not empty, empty, but it was like, someone sitting and eating, because it was also like a restaurant and bar. And then I saw like a couple dancing to the music. Um, and then just the band, and I was like, oh boy, okay, well, I think it doesn't make sense to get back home because I got ready, and you know what? Let me just sit here for a few minutes and just enjoy the music because I just came, so why not? So I sat there, listened to the band, and then, just stayed, I guess, for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, just soaked it in and really just like allowed myself to reflect on the fact that I'm actually here in Miami, in America. And then I got up and j- don't ask me how or why. I think like it was the Holy Spirit, honestly, because I did not plan to do it. It was not my mission. I checked their website out prior and I noticed, oh, okay, they're doing like events here and there. But I mean, I did not really think about pitching myself. So, I was standing up and just approaching a employee, and I'm like, oh, I saw that you're like doing multiple events here. Would it be possible if I offer my wellness events here? And she directed me to the manager who was also there, and then we talked, and he immediately like gave me the contact details of the event and marketing manager of the hotel.